The sea was calm that morning, and the sky looked soft and pale as the boat floated quietly above deep water. A diver named Adam stood near the edge, checking his equipment with slow and careful hands. He had been diving for many years, and the sea had become part of his life. It gave him peace, but it also demanded respect. Adam knew that the ocean could be gentle one moment and dangerous the next. Adam worked as a marine explorer. His job was to study underwater areas and search for lost objects from the past. Many days were quiet and uneventful. He often found broken tools, old nets, or stones shaped by time. Still, he never stopped feeling curious. He believed that the sea held memories that people had forgotten. After a final look at the horizon, Adam stepped into the water. The cold wrapped around his body as he slowly sank below the surface. The sounds of the world above faded, replaced by the steady rhythm of his breathing. Light from the sun followed him for a while, then slowly weakened as he went deeper. Fish passed by in small groups, flashing silver as they moved. Plants swayed gently with the current. Adam moved calmly, scanning the seafloor with trained eyes. His task that day was simple. He was mapping a section of seabed that had not been explored in detail before. As he swam forward, something unusual appeared in the distance. At first, it looked like a dark shape resting on the sand. Adam assumed it was a large rock or part of an old ship. He adjusted his direction and moved closer. With every meter he swam, the shape became clearer. It was tall and solid, rising from the seafloor in a way that felt unnatural. Adam slowed down. His instincts told him that this was not an ordinary find. When he finally reached it, his body froze in place. Resting silently on the ocean floor was a massive wooden horse. It stood upright, its legs firmly planted in the sand. Sea plants covered parts of its surface, and small shells clung to the wood. Despite being underwater, the shape was clear and carefully crafted. Adam swam around it slowly. The horse was larger than a small house. Its head was carved with detail, and its body looked hollow. Lines ran along its sides, showing where panels could open. The wood looked old, yet it had not fallen apart. That alone confused him. Wood rarely survived this long underwater, unless it had been treated in a special way. Adam felt his chest tighten. His mind filled with questions. Who built this? Why was it here? How long had it been resting in silence? The idea that this object was placed here on purpose made his skin prickle. He moved closer to one side of the horse and gently brushed away sand. A faint mark appeared beneath the growth of plants. It looked like a symbol, simple but unfamiliar. Adam took several photos, making sure to capture every angle. Time seemed to slow as he studied the strange object. The sea around him felt quiet, almost as if it were watching. Adam had the uncomfortable feeling that this horse was not meant to be discovered so easily. After several minutes, Adam knew he had to leave. He did not want to risk staying longer without backup. He marked the location carefully using his equipment and began his slow ascent to the surface. When Adam reached the boat, he pulled himself up and removed his mask. His hands trembled slightly as he sat down. The crew noticed his expression and knew something was wrong. Adam showed them the images. Silence filled the boat as everyone stared at the screen. No one spoke for a long moment. They had all seen shipwrecks before, but this was different. This was deliberate. This was planned. One crew member finally broke the silence and asked what it could be. Adam shook his head. He had no answer. All he knew was that the horse was real and it was waiting below. As the boat moved away, Adam looked back at the calm water. Beneath that peaceful surface rested a mystery that could change everything they thought they knew about the sea and its hidden past. That night, Adam could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the wooden horse standing alone in the darkness. He felt certain that opening it would reveal something powerful and unsettling. Whatever was inside had been hidden for a reason, and soon the world would learn why. Morning arrived slowly, but Adam had barely slept. His mind stayed trapped beneath the sea, circling the wooden horse again and again. When the sun finally rose, he was already awake, sitting on the edge of his bed and staring at the floor. The image of that massive shape refused to leave him. At the harbor, the crew gathered early. News of the discovery had spread quickly among the small group of marine workers. Everyone spoke in low voices, as if the sea itself could hear them. Adam arrived with a serious face and shared everything he remembered. Every detail mattered. A small research team was formed that same day. They included Adam, a sea engineer named Mark, a history expert named Lena, and a safety officer named Paul. None of them used big words or grand theories. They focused on facts, logic, and caution. The boat returned to the marked location before noon. The water looked calm again, hiding its secret without effort. As the boat slowed, silence took over. Everyone understood that this was no normal task. Adam prepared to dive again, this time with Mark beside him. They checked each other's gear carefully. No one rushed. Lena stayed on the boat, watching the screens and taking notes. Paul monitored oxygen levels and safety lines. Adam entered the water first. Mark followed close behind. As they descended, the light faded just like before. The seafloor appeared slowly, and then the shape of the horse emerged from the blue darkness. Even knowing it was there did not make it easier to see. The horse looked even larger than Adam remembered. It stood like a guard, silent and unmoving. Mark swam around it carefully, his eyes wide behind his mask. He ran his hand gently along the wood, then pulled back as if unsure whether touching it was allowed. The surface felt firm, not soft or broken. Adam pointed to the faint lines along the side. Together, they examined the edges. The panels were sealed tightly, but they were clearly meant to open. This was not a statue. It was a container. Mark signaled that he found something near the base. Adam swam over and saw a small metal plate attached to one leg. It was worn but still readable. Symbols were carved into it, arranged in a simple pattern. They took photos and measurements, careful not to disturb anything. The horse felt like it was holding its breath, waiting. After a short time, they returned to the surface. Once back on the boat, Lena studied the images closely. She compared the symbols to old records and texts stored on her tablet. Her face grew pale as she worked. She did not look afraid, but deeply unsettled. She explained that the symbols matched no known language exactly, but they carried patterns often used to warn rather than explain. Paul asked what that meant. Lena said it suggested the object was sealed on purpose and meant to stay closed. That answer did not bring comfort. Instead, it raised more questions. Why build something so large only to hide it underwater? Why leave warnings instead of information? The team agreed to bring the horse to the surface. Leaving it below felt wrong. The sea had protected it long enough. Whatever it held had already begun to reach out to them. The process took hours. Special lifting equipment was lowered carefully. Thick straps were placed around the horse without damaging the wood. Slowly, steadily, the massive object rose from the seafloor. As it broke the surface, water poured from hidden gaps. The wood glistened in the sunlight, darker and older than anyone expected. People from nearby boats stopped to watch. No one spoke. Even from a distance, the horse felt heavy with meaning. Once secured on a transport platform, the horse was moved to a protected dock area. Guards were placed around it, not because anyone feared theft, but because everyone felt that it needed to be respected. That evening, the team gathered in a quiet room near the harbor. The horse stood outside under bright lights, casting a long shadow. Lena spoke again. She said that objects like this were often built during times of fear. They were not meant to honor something, but to contain it. Her words made the room colder. Adam felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He remembered the uneasy feeling underwater, the sense of being watched. He wondered if the horse had been waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to find it. They decided to open it the next morning. No one argued. Delaying would only make the tension worse. That night, Adam walked alone along the dock. The horse loomed nearby, silent and still. He placed his hand gently against the wood. It felt cold, but not lifeless. For the first time since the discovery, Adam wished he had never dived that day. Whatever rested inside the horse had already changed everything. And once it was opened, there would be no turning back. The morning air felt heavy when the team gathered near the dock. The wooden horse stood under bright lights, tall and quiet, as if it had not moved for centuries. Workers kept their distance, whispering to one another. No one joked. No one smiled. Adam arrived early. He stood with his arms crossed, staring at the horse. The night had been long for everyone. Sleep came in short pieces, broken by uneasy thoughts. The decision to open the horse felt final, like stepping past a line that could not be erased. Mark checked the tools again and again. He chose simple equipment, nothing sharp enough to damage the wood. Lena stood nearby with her notes, her face calm but tense. Paul spoke to the guards and made sure the area was clear. Before they began, the team agreed on one rule. If anything felt wrong, they would stop. No arguments. No pressure. Safety came first. Mark placed his hands along one of the side panels. The lines Adam had seen underwater were clearer now. The wood had dried slightly, revealing its design. The panel did not look forced shut. It looked carefully closed. With slow effort, Mark applied pressure. At first, nothing happened. Then a low sound echoed through the dock, like old wood shifting after a long rest. Several workers stepped back without realizing it. The panel moved only a little, just enough to reveal darkness inside. A cold draft flowed out, brushing against their faces. It smelled old, not rotten, but empty, like air trapped away from the world. Adam felt his chest tighten. He remembered Lena's words about warning symbols. This was no accident. This horse had been sealed with purpose. Mark stopped and looked at the others. No one spoke. Adam gave a slow nod. Mark continued. The panel opened wider. Light spilled into the hollow space. Everyone leaned forward slightly, trying to see what waited inside. At first, it looked empty. Just shadows and wooden beams. Then Lena noticed something near the center. She asked Mark to hold the panel steady. Inside the horse stood several human-shaped figures made of dark metal. They were not alive. They did not move. Yet their presence filled the space with a strange weight. Each figure stood upright, facing the opening, as if they had been placed there to watch. The dock fell silent. Some workers turned pale. Others stepped back further. No one had expected this. The figures were detailed but simple. No faces, no weapons, no markings. Just smooth shapes, slightly worn. They looked like guards, frozen in time. Lena whispered that these figures were not meant to frighten. They were meant to remind. She believed the horse was built to hold a memory, not a threat. Adam climbed a small ladder and looked inside more closely. The space was larger than expected. Behind the figures, carved into the inner walls, were rows of symbols similar to those on the metal plate. Lena took photos quickly. She recognized repeating patterns. These were not random. They told a story. She explained that the symbols spoke of a group that feared being forgotten. They believed that certain knowledge was too powerful to vanish but too dangerous to spread. The horse was their answer. The figures represented watchers, not soldiers. Their role was to stand guard over ideas, not people. Mark asked what kind of ideas. Lena hesitated before answering. She said the symbols pointed to knowledge about the sea and its behavior, patterns that could change how people understood the world. Paul asked why that would be dangerous. Lena replied that understanding the sea too well could lead to misuse. Control instead of respect. Adam listened quietly. He thought about how calm the sea looked that morning, how gentle it could appear while hiding storms beneath the surface. As they explored further, Adam noticed a smaller compartment at the back. It was sealed separately. Mark carefully opened it. Inside were stone tablets, wrapped in layers of treated cloth. They were heavy but intact. Each tablet carried more symbols, deeper and more complex. Lena's hands trembled slightly as she touched one. She said these tablets likely contained the core message. The reason for everything. The team agreed to remove nothing yet. Everything needed to be studied slowly. Rushing could destroy meaning that had survived for ages. As the sun climbed higher, word spread quickly. Officials arrived, then scholars, then security teams. The dock became crowded, but the mood stayed serious. Adam stepped away for a moment and looked back at the horse. It no longer felt like a mystery waiting to be solved. It felt like a responsibility. Later that day, Lena spoke privately with Adam. She said that some of the symbols suggested a cycle. The horse was not meant to stay hidden forever. It was meant to be found when the time was right. Adam asked how they would know that time had come. Lena answered that the sea decides, not people. As evening approached, the panels were closed again. Guards remained, and the horse stood silent once more. But everything had changed. Adam walked home with heavy steps. The image of the metal figures stayed in his mind. Not frightening, but watching. Waiting. He understood now why everyone had turned pale. It was not fear of what was inside. It was fear of what came next. The days after the opening of the horse passed slowly, yet each hour felt heavy. The dock area was sealed, and only a small group was allowed near the object. The wooden horse stood under constant light, watched by guards who spoke very little. People in the nearby town felt that something important had happened, even if they did not know the full story. Adam returned to the dock every morning. He felt tied to the horse in a way he could not explain. Finding it had changed his life. He no longer felt like a simple explorer. He felt like a keeper of something old and serious. Inside a secure building near the water, Lena worked day and night. The stone tablets were placed on large tables under soft lights. She studied each symbol carefully, comparing shapes and patterns. Mark helped by creating digital copies so nothing would be lost. Paul focused on keeping everything calm and controlled. The symbols began to form clear meaning. Lena explained to the team that the tablets described a time when people depended deeply on the sea. They learned its rhythms and signs. They respected it, but they also feared it. According to the tablets, a group of thinkers believed that the sea spoke in patterns. Waves, tides, and storms followed rules that could be understood. This knowledge helped them survive, but it also tempted some to use it for power. The group feared that such power would harm balance. They decided to hide their deepest understanding until humans learned patience again. That was why they built the horse. It was strong, noticeable, yet sealed. A message without words. Adam listened closely. He remembered how the horse had stood quietly on the seafloor, untouched. It felt like proof that the builders trusted time more than people. One evening, Lena called Adam and Mark to the study room. Her voice was steady but serious. She said she had found something new. One tablet spoke of a test. The horse would reveal its final message only if those who found it acted with care and restraint. If the finders rushed, fought, or tried to control the knowledge, the message would remain unclear. Paul asked how a stone tablet could test people. Lena answered that the test was not in the object. It was in the choices people made after discovery. Outside the building, news crews gathered. Rumors spread quickly. Some said the horse held treasure. Others claimed it held danger. Officials argued about ownership and control. Adam felt uneasy. He had not found the horse for fame or reward. He found it by chance, guided by curiosity. Now too many voices wanted to speak over one another. A meeting was called with local leaders and experts. Adam was asked to attend. He sat quietly as people discussed plans, rights, and future use of the discovery. Some wanted to move the horse to a museum far away. Others wanted to study it in secret. A few spoke about how the knowledge could improve technology. Adam finally spoke. His voice was calm but firm. He reminded them that the horse had survived because it was left alone. He said that forcing decisions could destroy the very meaning they hoped to learn. The room grew quiet. Lena supported Adam's words. She explained that the tablets warned against haste. Mark agreed, saying the horse was not a machine to be used but a lesson to be understood. After long discussion, a decision was made. The horse would remain near the sea. Research would continue slowly, with full transparency. No information would be used for control or gain. That night, Adam returned to the dock alone. The lights reflected on the water, and the horse cast a long shadow. He placed his hand on the wood again. This time, he felt less fear and more responsibility. He realized that turning pale was not weakness. It was recognition. Everyone who saw the inside of the horse understood that some knowledge asks for humility, not pride. In the following days, visitors were allowed to see the horse from a distance. Lena prepared simple explanations, avoiding grand claims. People listened quietly, moved by the story of patience and balance. The sea remained calm, as if approving the choice. Adam watched the waves and felt a strange peace. The horse had been opened, but its true message was still unfolding, not in symbols or tablets, but in how people chose to act. Time moved forward, but the presence of the wooden horse never faded. Weeks passed, and the dock became a place of quiet learning rather than loud debate. People came not to demand answers, but to understand the story behind the discovery. The horse no longer felt like a secret pulled from the sea. It felt like a shared reminder. Adam continued his work, but his days had changed. He was no longer just a diver. He had become a bridge between the past and the present. Whenever visitors asked how he felt about finding the horse, he answered honestly. He said the sea chose the moment, not him. Lena finished translating the remaining symbols on the tablets. The final message was simple, yet powerful. It spoke of balance, patience, and respect. It explained that knowledge without care could damage what it aimed to protect. The builders of the horse trusted future people to grow wiser with time. Mark helped create displays that showed the process of discovery. He focused on facts, not drama. Paul ensured that safety and calm remained the priority. Together, the team worked as one, guided by the same purpose. One quiet morning, Adam stood near the water as the sun rose. The sea looked endless and calm. He remembered the first dive, the shadow on the seafloor, and the moment his heart had raced. That feeling had not been fear. It had been awareness. A small ceremony was held near the dock. No speeches filled with praise or pride. Instead, Lena spoke softly about responsibility. She reminded everyone that the horse had not been built to impress, but to protect understanding until people were ready. Adam was asked to say a few words. He looked at the crowd, then at the horse. He spoke about listening. He said the sea always speaks, but not everyone hears it. The horse was proof that patience could carry meaning across centuries. After the ceremony, the crowd slowly dispersed. Some stayed behind, quietly observing the horse. Others walked along the shore, lost in thought. In the months that followed, the story of the wooden horse reached far places. Yet it was told without exaggeration. No wild claims. No fear-driven tales. Just a story of discovery and choice. Schools used the story to teach respect for nature. Researchers referenced it as an example of careful exploration. Artists found inspiration in its shape and silence. Adam returned to diving, but he chose his locations with greater care. He felt more connected to the sea than ever before. Each dive felt like a conversation rather than a search. One evening, Adam met Lena at the shore. They watched the waves move steadily. Lena said that some people asked why the builders chose a horse shape. She believed it symbolized trust. A familiar form hiding deep meaning. Adam nodded. He understood now. The horse was not a warning of danger. It was a test of character. As years passed, the horse remained where it was found, close to the sea that had guarded it. The wood aged slowly, but its meaning stayed strong. It became a symbol of restraint and wisdom. Adam grew older, but his story was passed on. Not as a tale of shock, but as a lesson. People remembered the moment everyone turned pale. Not from fear, but from understanding the weight of what had been uncovered. The sea continued its endless motion. Waves rose and fell. Tides came and went. Beneath it all lived memories, waiting for the right moment and the right hearts. And so the story of the wooden horse did not end with its opening. It lived on in the choices people made after. In patience over rush. In respect over control. The sea had spoken. And this time, people listened.